Warm temperatures indeed on the sands of Saidia in Morocco. The elite men kick off this Sunday. This World Cup coming from North Africa on the World Triathlon stage, and there are certainly plenty that fancy seeing their names on top of the podium. This is the start list. Tyler Mislawchuk is the one to keep an eye on, but he's going to have perhaps an eye over his shoulder as well, particularly if John Reed, the American Gillian Sanders, is up there in contention when they go out on the run at the end of this.
Yeah, John Reed's certainly one to watch, the American athlete with a breakthrough year last year. We've got Callum McClusky, the Australian, ranked third coming into this race. We've got a really strong start list. Valentin Morlek, not so sure about his current form. He hasn't raced much this year, but certainly one to watch as well.
And there's a few further down the list as well in terms of Darr Smith, the other American, making his 98th start on the World Triathlon Series stage, 24th in Yokohama this year after that frustrating DNF in the World Championships at the end of last year. Bence Bicsak as well, the Hungarian, who will be wearing the number 17, another one to keep an eye on. And then the further down the list we go, there are plenty that could still be forcing their way into top 10, top 20 contention, even the number 29, Oliver Conway, you think about in those sorts of positions. Joris Basil as well, the Belgian, could certainly make an improvement on his starting number and find himself up around the top 15 or so. But it's a bit like the women's event as we see the weather conditions. The air temperature has gone up to 29 degrees, water temperature 25.1. In that this start list for the men, there are a couple of names that really stand out that we would expect to perhaps see on that podium come the end of today, and then there are a number of names that could certainly make a real impression for themselves on the World Cup stage. So the elite men get underway as they race down to the water. One to keep an eye on, the number 12 in the grey cap of Kevin Vinuela. As you just see there, Gurgly Kiss, I think, just struggling to deal with the entry into the water as he took a tumble, had to pick himself back up. You can see that sandbank is, when they're in the water, those men, it's only up to their knees really. It's a long trudge out to actually get into a position where they can start swimming on this one.
Yeah, and the Aussies will be relishing a swim like this. A lot of them coming from surf life-saving backgrounds. They would have grown up on the beach doing their nippers, so they will know, have better knowledge on how to read the ocean. So yeah, we saw that with Eva Goodison as well.
Well, the athletes are being beckoned over. We've got some who've gone a little wide. Mercer's actually just struggled in that latter part of the swim, and he's just been pipped to the post by his fellow countryman Jones, who even took the wider route, but has been able to find his way back out in front ahead of Mercer.
Yeah, the two Aussies with a bit of a gap heading back into the water. You can see there's quite a bit more swell than the women's race. It's got a little bit, the wind's probably picked up a bit, got a little bit more choppy, and it does make it slightly more challenging. Yeah, and there's not a lot of really tall buildings or trees on the shoreline, Ollie, for them to sight off, which, you know, might make it slightly more difficult. That's something that you would normally do if it's a bit choppy, as you choose something tall on the beach to try and sight off so that you make sure that you exit in the right spot. Otherwise it can be a little bit disorientating. So probably quite a challenge.
See how easy, again, they've all gone massively wide to the right and having to be ushered across to whether they can then make their way into transition. They're coming out of the water now though. Great indication of just how wide they've been pushed. Is that Jones leading them through first, or is that Mercer?
Guanella, there's Tyler Mislawchuk, Jack Willis.
Mercer's the one to lead them out, followed by Jones and Kiss and Azzano. Mercer not exactly held back. He's done a very good job of navigating another unconventional obstruction here in Saidia into transition, and he's going to be quickly out on the bike before anybody can get into his way. That's really smooth from the two Australians, Mercer and Jones, out at the front. Kiss as well has done very well to get through transition quickly. Vinuela too. Azzano making his way out. Mercer is just making a push away from everybody else and hoping somebody might come. We saw Eva Goodison try to go on her own earlier today. It didn't quite work out for her, but perhaps Braden Mercer has got something special in his locker and he can make an endeavour and a solo endeavour on the 8 laps of this bike ride around Saidia.
Yeah, and you can see from that aerial shot, you can see Mercer out front and there's two athletes trying to bridge up to him before they get to this 180-degree turn.
One of them is the red tri-suit of the Canadian Tyler Mislawchuk.
And 3 Australians in this front group. Just seems to be a revival of men's triathlon in Australia at the moment, which is great to see. Some really strong athletes coming through. You know, Matt Haas has been performing on the World Triathlon Championship Series circuit. Fabulous role model for all of those other Aussie athletes. I know we've spoken about the heat, and we're going to probably speak about it a lot more in this race, but it is a huge element in today's race, and there might be an element of a bit of conservation of energy. You know, athletes thinking maybe it's not worth that effort if it's not going to pay off making a breakaway, to then totally blow up come that 10K run. There could be an element of a little bit of self-conservation there. This is a chase group. Let's see Jimmy Lunn, Darr Smith of America there.
Just see now the chase group getting so close as they suddenly concertina up slightly, and they'll stretch out again, but it does look like the chasers are going to bring in the front 11. It's going to leave quite a big group suddenly all coming together, I imagine, in about a lap or so's time.
Those leaders will be disappointed that they weren't able to maintain that gap.
As they slow down towards this dead turn round the roundabout. Oh, we've had a fall right to the front there. Somebody's gone down on the bike. Have a look here, yeah. Bike just going out underneath Andres Hilario.
Oh, so lucky that no one else came down. So yeah, he slid across the road. Thankfully for the rest of the group, they were able to get around the inside of him. Oh, he's back on.
You can see there the war wounds on the tri-suit from his stumble, but he has done really well, the Spaniard, to get himself back in with this main group.
Yes, it looks like the Spaniard is standing between the two groups. Azano looked like he might be trying to go as well.
Manuela is still the kind of key link in the chain. It's just preventing the Hungarian from really having a chunk of daylight between him.
Italian is trying to get across, but by doing so he's pulling the rest of the group across as well.
Is that American tri-suit maybe of John Reed?
Yeah, I was going to say the same. I think it might be John Reed. Yeah, that's Reed, Kish, and try and get a number of the Spanish athletes. So yeah, 10 seconds the gap.
I think 2 of the front 3 have come together here. Have a look.
Oh,
it's the Spaniard again. This time it's Kevin Vinuela who's gone off. And then that's caused Bence Bicsak to have to go wide into the corner. And Darr Smith goes off down the road on his own, the American. So another Spanish stumble at this roundabout.
Oh no. Yeah, so these 2 are now clear.
Bicsak and Smith have been able to regroup further up the road, but it looks like that hard push from Kevin Vinuela has just caused him to be back into the field once again. It's another glorious looking Spanish tri-suit. It's got a few dirty marks on it from that tumble, but he is out of the saddle and driving this group onwards once again, Vinuela. Certainly looks like he could have even had 15 to 20 seconds, maybe even more than that. This is a sterling effort as the American takes his turn up at the front. These 2 dovetailing wonderfully. And 17, first and second.
No issue for these 2. They'll be in and out of transition before the other athletes arrive. Darr Smith, first out of transition. Bence Bicsak just behind him.
Could slow up for vital seconds some of these athletes as they make their way into T2. Rack the bikes, get the running shoes on. Get out onto the route as quickly as possible. The Canadian, once he finds his spot, is going to have clear sight in front of him. It's the joys of wearing that number 1. There's going to be a fair few athletes in front of him, including Gurley Kiss and plenty of others. Mercer out there as well, the Australian who's put in a lot of hard graft. You can see the Spaniards going through as well. So keep an eye out for perhaps the looming figures of Tyler Mislawchuk and John Reed and what they can do.
So as expected, Reed, Mislawchuk, Kish up there.
Normally we see 2.5 kilometre laps on these 10K runs of 4 laps, but it's 5 laps of a 2 kilometre course and the gap down to 27 seconds now. Smith has been happy just to sit in for the last lap or so now behind the Hungarian. It's very much the opposite with these two at the start of this run, but Bicsak sitting in up front.
Conway, the young British athlete, just out of the junior ranks, first year as a senior, leading this chase group.
Hopefully for his sake, not going to be a sacrificial lamb of driving the pace now and then falling back 22 seconds the gap. It's only a few more seconds that have been taken out of it.
Bradley Course of Australia, John Reid, Tyler Mislawchuk, and now a little bit of a gap to Azano.
Looks very confident, doesn't he, Mislawchuk there?
Yeah, just tucked in behind the Aussies.
Everybody else looks like they're sweating comps, and Mislawchuk almost looks like the Terminator. He's barely got any sweat on him at this point.
Just bringing the likes of McClusky and Reid with him. Conway of Great Britain as well, managing, I think, to... No, Conway's gone as well, I think.
Yeah, McClusky, Reid and Mislawchuk are the three strongest standing from that chasing five, and now a chasing five became a chasing three, and now becomes a leading five, and it might well become a leading 1, 2 or 3. There's going to be some that get dropped off this, and unfortunately for Smith and Bicsak, it's going to be a really hard push to dig deep and try and just stay with the leaders right now. Mislawchuk is in stride, and it'll be interesting to see what McClusky and Reid. It is 1, 2 and 3 in first, second and third.
Yeah, Reid looks like he's trying to ask some questions of Mislawchuk now.
McClusky's just fallen back. Bicsak, the Hungarian's doing his best to try and stick with the front two as the Australian's been dropped off. The Hungarian caught in no man's land between them. Smith being left behind. These two are pushing each other stride for stride and pace for pace. Conway. It's Conway who's making a push.
Conway looked like he was done for a moment, and he's back. I don't know where McClusky's gone, but yeah, Oliver Conway, what a run by the young British athlete. Be a bit of a surprise, I think, for Mislawchuk and Reid. They probably haven't seen Conway since that little out and back along the marina, and all of a sudden after the pedestrianised section, he's going to reappear.
They're going to hear an extra couple of footsteps coming up behind them. Conway now with these two. It spurred Reid on to something extra. Don't need a tangle of any legs right now. Mislawchuk checking over his shoulder, sees it is Conway alongside him.
One of the most experienced athletes in the field, running alongside one of the youngest athletes in the field.
This is going to be one big step up if he can find himself on the podium. Dare I say it, on a top step. He's in first place right now. Reid suddenly dropped back. Mislawchuk sandwiched between them. These three are rotating the lead every few hundred meters. It's a fascinating watch here in Morocco. Maybe Mislawchuk and Reid don't have the information on Conway. They don't know perhaps what his finishing prowess could be in a sprint. Do you take that risk and hope that the young gun who's making his first appearance on the World Cup stage doesn't have that sort of finishing power in him just yet? Do you hope that if you go, he's not going to be able to come with you? Those two are trying to leave Reid just in the rear guard now as Mislawchuk and Conway are starting to make moves, but the American, you can see just in his body language, is doing his best to try and fight back, but it's a fight that he appears to be losing right now. 3 looks like it's becoming 2. Conway and Mislawchuk leaving Reid in their wake. Conway looks like he's starting to open things up and up the pace slightly, and Mislawchuk is starting to be left behind by the British athlete. He's just going to round a couple more corners, and then he'll see that archway looming in front of him, the archway that leads you down to the blue carpet, and victory perhaps in his first ever World Cup event for Ollie Conway. This could be a sensational finish. Mislawchuk falling further and further back. It doesn't look like the Canadian has enough to stick with the youngster, and perhaps British Triathlon is going to have another name to keep an eye on for the remaining bit of the next few years, because Ollie Conway dares to look back, glance at Tyler Mislawchuk and race his way down to take the tape. 1 hour, 45 minutes and 54 seconds. Ollie Conway, a first World Cup appearance and a gold medal to go with it. Sensational to beat out some of the best in the world at this level. Tyler Mislawchuk is able to take silver in second place, and the American John Reid completes the podium. The future is looking very, very bright indeed for our winner. As McClusky comes across to take fourth, Bradley Course will take fifth. Australians, two of them in the top five in the end. Gregory Antipov is just able to edge out Bence Bicsak in the race for 6th and 7th respectively, and Zano comes through to take 8th. Darr Smith's just been falling a little further back in the field. He was one of the first out on the run, but just unable to keep up with the big contenders in front of him. The American taking 9th place in the end. Tyler Mislawchuk in particular has a very strong resume at even higher levels than that. And I'm not saying that this is suddenly what Ollie Conway can be on the World Triathlon Championship Series and compete with the best. But it is a good sign that on his day at least he does have the opportunities to set against somebody who is competing at the highest level of World Triathlon right now, as we see the results and standings in the top 10 going through.
Yeah, it's a massive stepping stone for him. Winning a World Cup sets a statement. He won that French Grand Prix, like I've mentioned a few times. There's some really quality athletes who race in those. And for him, from a personal perspective, the confidence that he will take away from those races and he will take into his next races, that's massive. And I'm sure he'll go from strength to strength.
It was great. I sort of went in just trying to gain experience, because I've only ever done European Cups before, so it's sort of the next step up. So I was just looking to have a good race, try to race the best I can tactically and physically, and so I thought it went really well. Thank you. Cheers. I just put a little dig in, and the dead turn did another big kick and managed to get a gap. So just really happy. I just tried to at the start of the run just try to hold my own pace, because I didn't really want to redline the run and sort of die and pay for it at the end. So I think it went well tactically. Thank you.
I would have liked to win, but I'll take second. That was it was a hot race, to be honest. Even on the bike you could already feel it, and I knew it was going to be a hot run. So my rule for myself was I wasn't allowed to push on the run until 3 or 4K, which is when I went and made the original break where we got a few away of us. He got a gap out of a corner, and I know he's a really good runner. So I came back to him, and then he went again and tried, and I basically just stuck in that gear, and he went away, created 5-10 meter gap, and that was it. Hey, so c'est la vie. That's racing. Would have liked to win, but everyone wants to win, right, when they line up all the 50 guys or 60.
I started off the year maybe a little slower than I wanted to. I felt like I've kind of come into some better form, and I've been really happy with training, so I was really happy with that. I can never manage to quite close exactly like I want to, and that's something I'm working on. Something that I've seen in training, but just haven't really quite been able to bring to races. But I was really happy. I ran with some great runners today. And I knew who I was coming off the bike with, and I knew we were going to run fast, and I was pretty confident we'd close that gap.
Well, the World Triathlon Championship Series hasn't been too kind to John Reid. He was a little frustrated about how the bike played out here in Morocco, but didn't matter too much in the end. He and Tyler Mislawchuk able to force their way through towards the front of the field. He just couldn't hang tough in the end with the top two out there on that 10K run when it came to the last lap or so. Tyler Mislawchuk takes second place. There was certainly a moment, maybe more than one moment, where he thought he was going to be stood on that top step of the podium.
Oliver Conway!
Well, this is what a World Cup feels like, Ollie Conway. It's not like this necessarily every single time, but this is certainly a moment to savour. His first appearance in a race at this level, and a gold medal to kick things off.